I think the priority issue is with respect to the independence of INEC. We've got an opportunity to incorporate some of the recommendations by Justice Wade's committee. The appointment process needs to be open and more transparent. The power to appoint the commissioners and the chairman should be divested from the president. It will go a long way to guarantee the independence of the commission. And then there is need to actually provide clear legal timelines for the release of funds for INEC. In the 2019 elections, the funds that INEC actually required for the elections wasn't released to the commission until a few weeks to the elections. And that, to a large extent, can potentially undermine the integrity of elections. The other issue is around Section 68 of the Electoral Act. And that is the provision that politicians have capitalized on to force INEC officials and polling officials to declare results under duress. Those declarations, when they are made under duress, should be subjected to review. The other issue is around the electronic accreditation and electronic transmission of results. Nigeria is at that point where we need the technology to improve the transparency of our results collation process. INEC used the results viewing portal for the Nasarawa by-elections. We have shown that it is possible to electronically transmit results and make it open for people to participate. The last very top priority issue is around candidate selection process. The cost of politics is very, very high. It is despicable for political parties to charge 45 million naira and 22 million naira for party nomination forms. Now, that is why you have a political process today that is meant for the highest bidder and the highest spender. And that is an issue that this 9th Assembly needs to address, limit the cost of campaigns, limit the cost that parties charge aspirants for running for office. And lastly is on election security. The 2015 amendments to the Act confer some powers on INEC to request and inform deployments for election security operation. But that is not the case. What we still see is that our security agencies undermine the process in some cases and not give INEC the required cooperation that they need. And so as we go to Edo and Ondo elections, it is very, very important that our security agencies ensure they uphold the principles of professionalism, patriotism, transparency, and accountability in the management of election security operations. And that is very, very key if we are very serious and really committed to democracy. They can end this process by December 2020. They need to accelerate the process. The timelines is very, very important, so we don't have a reoccurrence of what happened in the 8th Assembly. There by December, we are still passing the electoral amendments. We are just about 914 days to the 2023 elections. The National Assembly and the Executive have an opportunity, to write their names in gold and leave a lasting legacy, like the President has said, to fast-track this process and ensure that the electoral amendments process is concluded by December. So INEC, political parties and other stakeholders can prepare way ahead of the elections. We don't want to see postponement in our elections anymore. We don't want to see, these challenges and these uncertainties with respect to electoral laws. So if the National Assembly is truly committed, then they should be able to pass the amendments by December 2020. And it is very, very possible because the recommendations are out there. You have several bills who have been sponsored. So it is very, very possible. And we urge them to do so in the interest of our democracy.
Of election from 1999 to date, we have seen that there are still a lot of rooms for improvement in our electoral process, be it on the aspect of the law, be it on the aspect of how to choose candidates, be it in the aspect of inclusion, particularly gender and youth. Those are areas that we need critical reforms, and therefore we don't want reforms that will come at the eve of election. Certainly we want these reforms to become a bit earlier, before election, so that people get used to those reforms or amendments to the Act, and I think this is the right time to try to canvass for that. We have gotten the commitment of the National Assembly to say that they are willing and ready actually to make sure that reform processes are driven much more earlier, and I think they gave commitment to the effect that by December, all set and done, we should be able to be discussing the new electoral law. You remember that in the last dispensation, we were not able to, President was not able to assent to the amendment that were made because they were at the eve of election. And therefore, having such processes at the eve of election, I think will not actually provide the necessary environment and understanding that is required actually for citizens to participate and also for the law to even become effective. So I think it's high time, and that's why NLC is organizing this roundtable so that all of us will be on the same page, and so that all of us also will know that we should be responsible to have people that will actually earn our mandate, and also to continue to ensure that the process is credible, the process is transparent, and the vote of every Nigerian will count. We have already areas we have tried to identify, but this forum also provides an opportunity for our larger, broader members and civil society organizations to make input into areas that we think we need reforms. One is the area of persons appointed even into INEC. They have to be truly independent, and they have to also conform with the principle of independence at all levels. And those are issues that we think, to strengthen the electoral process, we need to take all those issues on board. Two is the issue of making sure also that people that perpetrate violence during election are not allowed to go scot-free. Those are areas that we are canvassing for. And importantly is also the issue of leveraging on technology to make sure that we are able to give some credibility to our elections, where you will know who voted and who has not voted. Because we can't look at the issue of synchronizing our identity system and make sure that this is able to reflect in our electoral process. This is the way to go, because once elections are credible, then you are sure that the people elected will be accountable to the people that elect them. This is the way to ensure good governance. So these are part of the reforms we are canvassing for, and that is why we are here today, to also allow opportunity for our civil society allies and our broader membership to be able to contribute to the process. Once the process is concluded, we'll be able to share with you in details what we'll be canvassing for, either through electoral reform and amending the Act, or those issues that we'll take on the streets to be able to campaign and also ensure that there is inclusion of youth and gender, particularly women, who are currently being disadvantaged. If you look at the structure of our even parliament, you find out that women are not having a voice because they don't have the wherewithal to compete with men. So those are processes that we think we should be able to reform to allow for inclusion and also allow for good governance.